Okay, class, today we're going to talk about the question of papal power in the Middle Ages. And we're going to now look in some detail at this document I mentioned earlier called the Pseudo-Isidorian Decretals. It is a forged document, and we want to take a look at this because it was used to support the claims of papal power. It is a book from the time of Charlemagne that was published under the false name of Isidore of Seville, who died in 636. It makes the following claims. Part 1 contains 50 apostolic canons from Dionysius, 60 decretals from Roman bishops from Clement I, around 90, to Melchiades, 314. Part 2 is the forged donation of Constantine, tracts of Nicaea, canons from Greek, Gallic, African, and Spanish synods down to 683. Part 3 gives the chronological order of the decretals from Sylvester I, who died in 335, down to Gregory II, who died in 731, including 35 forged decretals and interpolations in authentic documents. So you see the date for the document is later than the date for the death of its alleged author. The sacerdotal system, by which we mean the system of sacraments and priesthood, was established with the priesthood as a special caste between God and the people. The clergy are subject only to God and no earthly power under this system. The power of the papacy alone can call councils, and the universal power of the Bishop of Rome is asserted over all churches everywhere. The purpose of this document was to protect the clergy from secular interference. The reduction in the power of metropolitan bishops enhanced papal power. The authenticity of the documents was never questioned in the Middle Ages, but Catholic and Protestant scholars today agree they're not authentic. The so-called donation of Constantine is part of the document, and it alleges that Constantine granted to the papacy the Lateran Palace. The document probably was written around 847 to 865 by a Frankish priest or monk near Rheims. It anachronistically pushes medieval practices back to the 2nd and 3rd centuries in an effort to invest them with the authority of tradition. Now, we talked earlier about there being 7 ecumenical councils that we were going to count as truly ecumenical, but that the Catholic Church counts a total of 21. We're going to look at some Roman Catholic ecumenical councils that took place after Nicaea II, down to the eve of the Protestant Reformation. Constantinople VI, from 869 to 70, ended the schism between Photius and Nicholas. Lateran the first Lateran Council was in 1123. This confirmed a peace between the papacy and the empire. The Second Lateran Council in 1139 confirmed clerical celibacy as a matter of canon law, forbidding priests to marry. The Third Lateran Council in 1179 determined the method of papal elections. Prior to this, popes were elected simply by a vote of the people in the city of Rome. The Fourth Lateran Council in 1215 defined transubstantiation as dogma and mandated at least annual confession and communion. It condemned Joachim of Fiore, the Waldensians, Albigensians as heretics, and regulated the Inquisition. Now let me say a word about transubstantiation, annual confession, and communion. Transubstantiation is the Roman Catholic dogma that in the sacrament of the Eucharist, when the priest pronounces the blessing over the bread and the wine literally turns into the physical blood of Jesus, and the bread literally turns into the physical flesh of Jesus. But they continue to look like bread, taste like bread, look like wine, taste like wine. These are referred to in Catholic theology as, quote, the accidents of the host. But they are perceived to be and believed to be the literal body and blood of Christ, and so they cannot be wasted. And the ultimate act of desecration in a Catholic Church is to defile the host. The priest will eat it anyway. no matter what you do to it, because it is the body and blood of Christ. This was defined as dogma by the Fourth Lateran Council, which also required of every faithful member of the church to attend to confession and the Mass at least once a year. So to be a faithful, practicing Catholic, you must go to confession and you must go to Mass at least once a year. The First Council of Lyon in 1245 deposed Emperor Frederick II. The Second Council of Lyon in 1274 set new regulations for papal elections and effected a kind of reunion with Constantinople. Basically, the council said, we'll come help you against the Muslims if you'll reconcile with us. So it was sort of a reconciliation at gunpoint that the other Eastern Patriarchs never agreed to. The Council of Vienna in 1311 and 12 suppressed the Knights Templar, and they felt were getting out of control. The Council of Constance between 415 and 1418 put an end to the Avignon papacy, which was the Great Western Schism, or the Babylonian captivity of the church. It also condemned Jan Hus, declared conciliar authority over the Pope, planned further reforms, deposed John the 23rd, who had called the council, deposed his rival, and elected a new pope. In addition to bishops, monks, and priests and political leaders, there were 700 prostitutes who came to Constance for the council. One source numbers the total influx into the city at 72,460 persons. This is taken from Woodbridge and James, from pre-Reformation to the present day, page 45. Then the Council of Basel, Fiera, Florence was from 1431 to 1445. This was another temporary reunion with Constantinople and other Eastern Christians. And so that gives us a little bit of a look at the medieval councils leading up to the Renaissance. Our next lecture will deal with the Renaissance and attempts at church reform.